Everybody, welcome to Trader Talks in today's market. My name is Mike Fairborn, sitting in for Kevin Horner. It's good to be here with you guys to talk about markets in general. We'll definitely look at some indices today. We're going to focus in on some of the sector strength as well within the markets. And I want to talk about specifically a number of stocks that have been moving after earnings. Earnings are kind of a big deal right now in terms of where we stand with the market. So we're going to talk about those performers within earnings, those stocks that have been breaking out. Now, I'd like to welcome you all here and welcome my partner here, Barb Armstrong, who is in the chat. Great to have Barb on board, folks. Any questions, comments you have, definitely direct those to the chat. I'll keep a watch on those as well, but it is great to have Barb here, as well as all of you. Looking forward to our discussion. So let's dive on into things real quick and hit some disclosures to get going here. Okay, information here is for general information purposes only and should not be considered an individualized recommendation or personalized investment advice. Now, some additional points to note. The Paper Money software application is for educational purposes only as well. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. Investing does involve risk, including the loss of principal. Some additional notes listed here on the slide. As you can see, we'll go ahead and go to the next slide here. There we go. Yep. So just a quick note on that, and wanted to state too that as it relates to futures, although we don't trade futures in this class, wanted to state that futures and futures options trading does involve substantial risk. It's not suitable for all investors. So with that, let's dive on into our discussion today. All right, well, looking at the markets here, you can see us right at the open. In fact, I'll do this. I'll set up, open up futures off to the left-hand side here, just so we can see what is going on there with that. In fact, a quick note, as we look, we're still holding within this range, folks. And what I've done, just to kind of keep me aware of what can be happening, what could happen in the markets within this extended tight range, I've just put a couple of different lines in here. You guys might recognize those as alerts. A quick note on alerts, just while we've got it, alerts are not guaranteed to be delivered or delivered at any specific speed or time frame and should not be used as a replacement for actively being aware of your positions. Having said all that, I have not had any issues with alerts. My alerts have come through, but I wanted to note that, yeah, because it's a key point to note. But up top here, we're in a sideways channel still. So we're waiting to see if we can actually get above this level for some moves, because we have a number of companies out there in the market that have been following the same general process, the same sort of condensed price range that we have not been able to yet break through. Many of you are familiar with one of the indicators that we do discuss. I just bring this up because it's rare to see the markets in this condition. I'm using what's referred to as a TTM squeeze over here to help me define the markets a little bit. And I'm just going to look at the squeeze down below. You can see this long set of red dots down below, just implying that the Bollinger Band is trading even below the Keltner channel. Both of those indicators do give us an indication of price compression, but when the Bollinger Band is below the Keltner channel, it's even a stronger indication in terms of those two indicators that we are in a tight range, a tight band. And when you're in that tight band, a lot of times, like even over here, I'll just use this prior example. That was a 3-day move here. A lot of times, yeah, you can get a sizable move outside of that range, up or down. Now, generally, traders are looking for a move that's going to follow in the direction of the trend. And what is the trend, folks? It is to the upside. We don't know if we're going to get that, but it is interesting to see how we stand in that regard. So, watching this very closely, we'll see what does come up. You know, we had let's say Q4 GDP about 1.4% lower than Q3 for last year, and it did slow down a little bit. We're just waiting to see, what economic data perhaps could get us outside of that range. And what I was looking at specifically are some of the moves within the technology group, some of the big movers that do play a key role. We're gonna review that. Did want to review some markets first though, before we dive on into that, folks. But this could be a good idea if you wanted to try to set an alert on these ranges here, just to give you an idea that, yeah, we are finally breaking above this range, because actually, yeah, we are sideways even prior to, I mean, that's October here. That's before Halloween, actually. We've been inside, we're virtually at that same level we were October of last year. end of October last year. We're still there. We're getting that tightness over here within that price compression. So there could be a bigger move. We'll see how that does unfold. I'll go ahead and just lose that indicator now. All right. Yeah, we'll leave the RSI on there. Okay, great. So with that, let's go ahead and turn it to the NDX over here. Um, Something similar here. We were wondering, I'm going to really zoom in on this because the NDX getting outside of that range, and there were quite a few eyes on Nvidia yesterday, which did shoot up after hours, kind of pulled back down. We'll take a look at that today, just here in just a second. But there's kind of a look right there that we've got on the NDX as it stands, and I was wondering, really, were we going to be able to break above this range right here and get going? It's kind of the mid-range. Well, between this level and this high up top here, which we did have kind of a double top, this is kind of about a 50% level. Now, to get us moving outside of a range, and oftentimes, this is actually one of the techniques that a lot of traders that do use the Fibonacci ratio will look at. They'll look at prices, getting it back above. Can they, within a channel, can they get back above the 50% level and start to move back up? We're stuck there still. I mean, we're still kind of holding that general range right there. It's like right at 50% or very, very close to it with prior resistance. So another good area to keep an eye on here for a technology to possibly move. Just a quick glance over here. Yeah, we're really not seeing that yet, are we, on the NQ? So it's down, holding within that range. In fact, let's go ahead and pull up that NVIDIA just right now, because that was kind of a big mover in anticipation of a possible breakout. And could this help move the Mag 7, the heavily weighted portion of obviously the S&P 500 as well? Could we get outside of this range? Now, let me show you this right here. So I'll pull this over here and just kind of highlight. This was just kind of the general setup for the possibility of that move. I'm going to take us off the highs to this low range. You see that 50% level? We were just holding very close to it. It was very interesting yesterday because we did break above the 50. Let me zoom in on that so you can see it. Ah, much better. Okay. We did break above, but it was like holding, holding, holding. We've been in here since August, actually, was it August? We've been a general range of, yeah, about August of last year for NVIDIA kind of going sideways. And that was the announcement. Shut up after hours about here, but now we're back down. In fact, you can just see this. This is always interesting to do. If I go into just a 5-day, 5-minute, I'm going to quickly open up. Oh, this will be kind of drastic here. Yeah, let's see. Let's go ahead and pull this up. Just highlight that after hours, just to kind of show you the extent of that range. It wasn't as high as I had shown on the chart. It went up to about 204, and now we're down to about 190. Pretty big zigzag to the downside there, right there, as you can see. All right. Just a quick glance intraday. We'll see if we can hold. The point is here is we broke above that 50, and now can we hold it? Again, these do play a key role in, let's see, visualize. We'll just show you. Yeah, I think many of you know this. You've seen it before, but these are big blocks over here. S&P 500 market weighted, Mag 7, right? Looking at these over here, here's Amazon, Tesla, and some others as well. So they can play a really, really key role. Back to the NDX real quick. I do have listed down here. Where do I have it? Oh, my Mag 7. Yeah. So look at the Mag 7, which has it really been magnificent? It's been underperforming the markets for sure. It's kind of like the OK 7, right? It's not quite the Mag 7 at this point. We've seen a lot of these companies that have really kind of shifted lower, but we're sort of still towards the lower end of the Mag 7 range. I've just added all of these together to build that Mag 7 sort of visual for us, or that index of the Mag, basket of the Mag 7, I should say, off here, off the bottom. The question is here is, can we get some movement there? It's really, really challenging as we look at the NDX. I want to break these down individually too and just kind of show you where they're at. Apple here, okay, going through. So Amazon, I mean, these are some pretty big moves to the downside, really kind of setting up near some resistance over here. Could be an interesting level though to keep an eye on. If we are able to break above this level, that could be interesting to see. There is the Google Alphabet right there. I've drawn a line through here too. I don't know. The Mag 7 collectively, as you saw, had been going down. Google had been one that's been holding up one of the best, but there could be developing here a bit of a um, shoulder, head, and shoulder. It's not like a perfect visual, but you can see the general outline of it. I've drawn in here what could be a neckline. It's just holding a little bit lower because I've got it near a resistance top over here. But if that were the case on something like a Google and we were to drop, I'm just going to kind of estimate it here. A break through that neckline would maybe put us back down into this range. Now that's kind of the initial move of a head and shoulder. We don't know if we're going to get that. We don't know if it is a head and shoulder, but if we do start to break lower and collectively that Mag 7, which you just saw, starts to break down below those lower levels, we could get a break even in something like a Google. I mean, it could follow it. Here's that Mag 7, which did make a new low right here, a series of lower lows. So we're just watching this for moves and how that might influence the NDX and stocks within the Mag 7 itself. Now, here's a look at Meta. It's still quite volatile, as you can see within a range. It had a really good earnings announcement there. But then it ended really quick. We filled that gap. We slipped back down below, but we are seeing even some traction here in Meta because we are getting some higher lows and with that, some higher highs too. So that's positive, but the volatility has been, pretty substantial. Just a quick look at Microsoft there. Wow. Yeah, that's one of the bigger underperformers for sure. Was kind of holding at a big round number here at 400, slipped below that level and did make a new low. Lastly, Tesla actually holding up one of the best as well with Google. Holding prior highs right here. We'll see what we get on that. Okay, so just keeping a watch on that and just recognizing how that can factor into the S&P 500 index and others. Now, I did want to take a look at the Russell 2000 here, holding up quite a bit better. In fact, if we were just to look, I'll just do a quick visual here of us. That's kind of towards the lows of last year. Look at small caps, how they've been performing relative. Okay, so the small caps are up roughly about, I'll just say real close, approximately 8% or just below 8%. I'm just drawing some quick visuals in here, just using some of the drawing tools. But so that's up about 8%. If we use the same kind of low from the end of December to where we're at now, 8% versus about 1.2. Pretty substantial there within the Russell itself relative to the S&P 500. Now, if we look at, let's see, it's the $DJI. Yeah, so it too clearly outperformed the S&P 500. Not up to the Russell's level. It's up about 3.5, approximately, just maybe slightly under 3.5 today on the year. The Russell, the key performer though, on the day for sure. Or I should say on the year thus far. So quick look back at the Russell right there. Yes, really stronger, higher highs and higher lows. And with the Russell, quite a few companies within that index, 2000 and change, really holding some key support right here. With that, I would just say this as well. We can also use those alerts. And what we could do is we could say, well, this is kind of an interesting line coming down here in terms of a trend line, just drawing off the highs. I see one off the bottom as well. So a bit of a price compression here. What we want to do, we can still tap into some of those, the technology behind the Thinkorswim platform and use this as a potential signal as well to get in. I'm just going to right click on the diagonal sloping trend line, go down here into create alert with the drawing, and we just need to make sure we want to flip this. It does default to crosses below like we're using a lower trend line, but crosses above, and I can just do something like this. Trend line break question mark and see if there's a follow through, because this could be an early indication of strength. A lot of times the Russell and the small caps will lead the market. Folks, that could be to the upside, it could be to the downside, but looking at this, it could give us some interesting indications for a move. Now, there is an ETF for the Russell, But of course, if we wanted to see what stocks were performing in the Russell, all we need to do is go to the left under our scan and pull that up just real easily. I could just scan in. Yeah, so scan, we got to make sure we're in the scan, and then the stock hacker here, go right into scan in, scoot on down to the Russell 2000. It's a big basket of stocks, and click scan right there. I've got my 1 week percent change in here. Well, we could look at the 1 week or even the 1 month. And what I'll do is pull this. Well, it's going to take a second. There's just a lot of companies there. I've actually only got, wait a second. Oh, it's in communication services and it's still taking a long time to load. Uh-oh. All right. I'm going to clear that filter and give you everything. We're not going to worry about this one. Uh, this one is a ThinkScript, which is not guaranteed for timeliness or accuracy, but it's taking it a little while to load up this 2000. But what we could use is this built-in column right here. And you can find that over here on the left-hand side just by typing in PCT wherever it's at. In fact, I'll do this right now to show you. PCT right there. And here is a 20-day. Also, oh, there's a 1 month. We'll pull up the 1 month as well. In fact, I just wanted to show you over here, like what's really been performing the last month. So you can just break that down because we were seeing strength in that group. I'm just going to take this off for now and get rid of it. It's just slowing us down. Okay, there we go. So on the 2000, let's click. We'll click again. It's going to start loading up some of the companies that have been performing well within this group. Again, small cap stocks. And you see those listed over here based on percentage. We have a lot to still load. It's going to take a while to load this up, but a quick way to do that. So in other words, you can tap in and find out what companies might be moving if the Russell is breaking out, if somebody's not looking at, let's say, the ETF on this group for potential trades. Okay, well, that was a lot on the markets. There's a lot going on actually, though. But a quick note over here. So let's keep this going. We're going to go over here and just take a look at our sector grid. I'll put a link down below if you don't have this. But for those of you here with us right now, I'm going to share this grid so that you do have this. I'll put it right in the chat, and there it is. So that is the sector grid if you guys want to use something like this. I want to just kind of highlight where we have been seeing some strength. And maybe some of the bull flags out there, energy has really been quite strong. Let's zoom into this right now. You can see this looking like, in terms of the basket of energy companies that are within the S&P 500. Take a look at this with me. Big, strong run up, sideways channel right here, kind of like a flag pattern, right? Something similar to with the materials. We've seen a number of these little flags coming up. This is like no exception in terms of this, and we're kind of the sideways range, perhaps with a larger term trend that could be resuming to the upside here. Those are a couple. I'm going to zoom back out here just by clicking on my arrow, and I'll show you some others. So industrials, very, very similar, leading the markets to the upside. Staples as well. Not discretionary, not the other consumer. The consumer discretionary has been down quite a bit towards the bottom end of the range, but over here, consumer staples, 4 indices that have been up, flagging in the trend and still holding within that same general kind of structure of the trend with the possibility of flag patterns. So those are areas that we could also come over here and look at under the scan tab, finding specific stocks that could come in here too. This is going to be a lot quicker to pull up. Looks like my numbers have loaded. It took a little bit. That's kind of nice too. If you're waiting for something, this is just one of the things that I do. If I'm waiting for data to load on the platform, I will go to another portion of the platform, say into charts or whatever, go back to it, so I'm not wasting time waiting for something to load. So it's really quick and easy to do. But back into the S&P 500, because those charts I was just showing you were from the S&P 500. Let's go over here and we can pull something up, like say, for example, in energy. So I can pull up, oh, sorry, right there. Yeah, energy, all sectors, excuse me. Yeah, the entire group of the sectors. So I'm intersecting that with the chart I was looking at over here, the first chart we looked at, energy, sideways channel, what stocks are really performing in this group? What stocks make up that basket that I could actually look at? S&P 500 intersect with that energy down below under industry like we did, and then just hit scan. To make up that chart, oh, that was all symbols. That flipped off. Yeah, so S&P 500 energy scan, 22 companies make up this chart in the S&P. And we can tap in to see what those companies look like, which ones are performing, because they're all right there. Here's your 1 month performance, and then you can just take a look at some others down here too to see what you got. I've got a lot of columns loaded up on other screens, so I've reached my maximum here as it states, but I wanted to show you these are some of the performers. Now, as you look at this group, this is an interesting area to find companies that have been moving too. In fact, I'll show you that right now. By the way, so those were, though, the sectors that could be of interest. Again, whoop, flag. We'll do it again. Flagging, industrials, the top. They just so happen to be the top that I've got on my chart, all three of them. But if you come over here, there's your staples. We might actually see something too down below. There's real estate, there's utilities that have also kind of been bouncing as well. Others, every one of those others have been kind of either like really flat for an extended period of time or down, 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 infotech down, or communication services really kind of flat to recently down. So focusing in on what's actually moving in the market and what's holding its price gains and creating those mini flag patterns. Some of them a little bit longer than mini flag patterns. All right. So back to our charts here, because I did want to show you, I want to take a look at some of the other companies. Oh, before I go any further though, quick note on the markets themselves as we were looking at over here. So folks, as we're looking at the S&P 500, one key note to look at, can we take out this level? Are we going to bounce off off the bottom bounce here? Really just separated here by a 200-point range. So it's kind of been, it's not really been a risk on or a risk off in the markets. As a matter of fact, it's been kind of like steady as she goes, just kind of sideways, holding those gains, waiting for that possible breakout here over that 200-point range. And so really just looking at maybe some of the stronger stocks within that group. One thing that could help us kind of break outside of this channel, do that again real quick, just to kind of show you. So breaking outside of this range right here, one thing that could help us is that keeping an eye on the VIX. If the VIX were to slip back below off that bounce off of 20 that we saw right here, right there, this is kind of an area where it might be sort of risk off. We might see the S&P 500 begin to dip lower here. In fact, I'll put a comparison on that S&P just so you can see that right now. Here's a comp chart, comparison chart, SPX. Okay, it'll come in as purple up top. And here we go. Those moves above 20, put just a general line through here. That's where you oftentimes get that risk off, kind of the pushed back in the markets coming back down, down. You can see, some indications of that, like even here. You came up towards the top when you broke above this level, above these ranges, a little bit of pullback in the market. The question was, will we get, when we get a dip back down below here, will we see a general move of the market? Notice going higher, S&P 500 to the upside. Just a quick note right here. Notice when you dip back below that 20 on a big pullback, which we could see on the VIX coming back below the 20. If we were to get something like that, notice what happened to the S&P. It moved up. Now, would that be enough to get us higher over here? That's really the question. Across that range on the S&P. This is what you'd like to see in terms of volatility, though, coming back down. Now, we bounce back a little bit today. You can view this on a shorter term chart. There's a 30-minute chart right there. You can look at the VIX even as some of these resistance levels. Look over here with me, guys. So those are support levels off the bottom. Try that again. Yeah, let's just do this. Okay. Clear it and try it. You can kind of get a general idea of where that level is at right through there somewhere. We gap down below it. Now, if we touch off this and start to come back down, possibly, if that happens, looking for the S&P 500 and the markets in general to go higher. Now, we can reference this as well with the VXN. VXN colon CGI is the symbol. Let me just throw that in the chat here so you guys have that. But volatility index on the NASDAQ 100 that we were looking at too. So you can see over here, we'll go back to the daily chart on the VXN. I'm going to flip this into not the SPX, but a reference point here, NDX. There we go. So this, again, this gives us a visual referencing the moves in each of these. Move to the upside, into the upper channel. Sorry about that. Hit the click. Move to the upside. I'll just highlight it so we can all see that. Okay. Coming down, VIX coming down, there's your general move to the upside. Okay, same thing here. Coming down off the VIX, move to the upside. This is specific to that though, to the S&P 500. Okay, and that was just a paper money alert from one of my classes getting filled there. Coming down here, paper money trade, I should say. Coming down off that bottom, we got a little bit of a bounce here too. The question is if we can continue to fall, which it is falling right now, that could help to influence the upside move on NASDAQ itself, the NASDAQ 100. Okay. So that's another good one to keep in mind. It's just a way to look behind the scenes and watch that volatility. Because we do know that price volatility has been tightening up as we talked about previously, right? That was the very first portion of our discussion into those tight ranges on the SPX right there. So volatility changes could certainly help us out. Let's see how to get these setups. So this setup here that we were just looking at, so that was just an indicator I was looking at. And all I did with that is if we had the VIX over here, I just added a comparison. Sorry, I might have done that really quick. So up here, edit studies, I clicked on edit studies and I just went into a comparison chart. This is a great way too, folks. If you ever want to look, you can pull up let's say, for example, a sector or a sector ETF. Some of you guys will use those. How is my stock doing relative to that index or that sector, right? Where's the strength? How have I been performing relative to that group? That can be really helpful to look at. All right, I know in this class that Kevin does go through, there's a lot to look at in terms of that tight range and where we're at in the markets. But yeah, I did want to touch base over here too and just look generally at the markets themselves. I wanted to highlight this and show you some of the other, we talked about, before I dive into some of the stocks that have been moving, we talked about energy. And part of that is, we have been seeing some of the strength come back within crude. Crude's been strong, crude light, as you can see over here, oil. Prices themselves, just looking at the futures right now, that trend has been up, higher highs, higher lows. We did just break above a high over here. So the point is will this trend continue? A lot of the strength in the S&P as of late has come from energy stocks. In fact, well, let's pull up a few of those too. These companies they've had recent earnings announcements. I'll just dive into some of them right now. But look at this. So within energy, Occidental, breaking above a high range here. There's your earnings announcement right there. Okay, that's a gap. Well, clearly a gap. But that gap was above this long-term range over here too. And we may hold that level. We'll see there are some others too. What else do we have? We had FE. That's another energy company. You can see the strength. Those are already breaking out above other channels, other ranges. FANG has been strong as we tap into look at some of the, let's see, just real quick. This is nat gas, right? Yeah, nat gas, independent oil and nat gas. It's a combination of the two. Breaking higher. You guys see these? So these are there are just a number of companies that have broken above a range and come back down and rested on those prior highs post earnings. Many of them post earnings. FANG is another one there. I think we've got NRG, recent earnings. I'm just hitting recent earnings here. Another breakout above a range. That's a very, very long range. This was all basically much of last year. Sideways channel potentially breaking out right there. Some of the bigger names, though, CV, Chevron, strike there, Exxon, maybe a little mini flag forming. A lot of times traders will look at these longer term moves here and just anticipate this kind of a breakout occurring right there to the upside. Okay. Another quick way to do this, because we did pull this up and I showed you this previously, but I'll actually go into the Market Watch tab, go back to end quotes. We'll just get a full screen on this one here, as opposed to using the scan tab. And I can just simply come over here and take a look at, the S&P 500 as well. And I can pull this up, just as such a quick and easy way to see what's performing on the day or on the year. Let's see 1 second here. I do have a year-to-date change right here as well, which is really, really helpful. Keeps us kind of geared towards, yeah, and that's just okay, it is a custom expression. Gosh, exceeded. All right, just too many. I've got too many columns open, but keep an eye on this. This could be really, really helpful to take a look at. I might have to kill some of these guys. Let me just do that right now. And what do I have here? See these custom columns? If you take them off, suddenly these will start loading. And that's just a good quick tip as to if you're starting to see this, and I've got more that are open probably over here in the scan tab. Yeah. But for the time being, here it is. Let's go ahead and take a look at the year-to-date performance on some of these companies within the S&P 500 as they're, many of them have loaded up. But you can come in here, folks, and a lot of times what we can do is we can just sort this by a sub-industry like energy as well, and really kind of dive in and see which of these companies are moving. Okay. Now, I'm going to share with you guys a script that's going to help you get a really good idea as to, companies that are having earnings and what those earnings numbers have been. Scripts aren't guaranteed for timeliness or accuracy. This is just a script that I built in my my ThinkScript class, but it's just referred to as earnings beats as a percent. And what this does is it just looks up all the companies that have had earnings in whatever time frame we're focused in on, and it will give us a sense if they beat those earnings estimates or not. This is very, very helpful around earnings season. Now, keep in mind, earnings is one way to look at it. Of course, the technical analysis is a totally separate approach, having the tech side on there too, technical analysis. But it's not only earnings, but it's what happens post earnings, right? It's not what you reported on earnings, it's what you guys guided after earnings. So just park that in the back of your mind. But these earnings beats, if I click on this, these are companies like, for example, Paramount and others in here that missed earnings. And here's a great example. Like, for example, Mosaic here, folks, they missed earnings by quite a bit, which was the expected number. But how did the stock do? I don't think the stock, maybe it did get hit. Let me just show you this right here. It's a lot of times it's post earnings that matters, and it did get hit a bit. Yeah, so there's, I'm pointing to earnings right there. Earnings, this is what it's tracking on the chart. 47 cents, roughly almost 48 cents, and they came in at 22 cents. A lot of times, not every time, that can mean weakness in the stock. And you saw it right there. Look at that. That's the dip. This is a good way to track those earnings as we do go into the, into earnings season, which we're kind of coming out of right now. But I want to share that with you guys so you have it and can utilize that. Here we go. So let's go to, let's see, it's under custom. No, it's not. It's under edit. And by the way, you can just change this too. I've got it looking back over the last 10 days right now. 10 days, but market days. So basically the last 2 weeks. But I'll share that right now with you all, so you have that. It's not really too long of a script, although it did take a little while to get going. And here you go. Again, not guaranteed for timeliness or accuracy. And there you have it. By the way, Barb did send in the noted in the chat. It is survey, folks. If you get a chance to fill out a survey. There's only a couple of questions in there. It gives us a good idea if you're finding this information useful, helpful, the tools that we're showing, things along those lines. Yeah, I'd love to have feedback from you guys on that. Again, you can follow Barb and I on X, Barb Armstrong CS. I believe Barb put that in the chat. Mike Fairborn CS as well. Yeah, and Barb, post your handle in there as well. But I just wanted to state over here, folks, that we've got this just yeah, here's just my X handle. I'll post this down here just in the chat so you guys have this if interested. Love to have you follow me on X if that's of interest to you. I do post, financially related content and other content as well in that group. Okay. We had other companies in here. Oh my gosh, DPZ? DPZ, that's Domino's. DPZ. They had earnings as well. Let's just take a look at some of these here. Okay. Oh, a little bounce off. You'd have to say off of the bottom there for DPZ. Yep. A little bounce there. Okay. Some of the earnings breakouts that we've been seeing as of late, Caterpillar. So I'm sorry. Some of the earnings were breaking out, but Caterpillar had this sideways channel. It did not work in terms of there it is. It tested the lower level. It was kind of flagging here. So back in the industrials, this was kind of like a see the flag trade here. Obviously, it broke a little bit lower here, but that's kind of the flag extension we're seeing on Caterpillar. Some others in here, folks. Think about interest rates declining. How can that influence some of the prices in terms of homes? I mean, maybe homes could come back with real estate. I was just looking. I think mortgage rates are the lowest they've been in years right now. Um, actually, as we say that, but they've been dipping a little bit. But as you can see, we're kind of resting on prior highs right here. Can that help to influence prices going higher with the expectation of a new Fed chair that might decrease interest rates going forward? That could help, obviously, more home buyers get in. So this could be a group to kind of keep an eye on too. Here is a look at those interest rates, and they have been dipping, right? There's your 10-year Treasury yield. Just looking at futures again. So right over there could be interest rate sensitive. So keep an eye on that. What about D.R. Horton, DHR? Oh, that's Danaher. DRI. Nope. D. Why can't I remember it? Horton. Somebody help me here. What is DR Horton? DR. I got. No, Diamond Rock. No, that's not it. There's Dominion. that's a breakout right here. It's not letting me do it in this box here. DHR. Is that it? No. DRH. Forget it. Folks, the housing group. I'm going to take a look. Somebody's got it down here for me. Maybe, maybe not. Okay. DHI. I was saying DRI. Thank you so much. All right, there you go. So maybe a possible bigger move in some of these groups over here. Folks, energy and utilities, though, showing some strength. There is your Diamond Energy breaking above a range over here as well. So still wanted to hit some energy. Another one in that group, too, FE. Remember, again, we're tapping into some of those areas that also showed us some really good strength in terms of the sectors. The sectors were breaking out. We shared that in the box. And did I share that other scan? Make sure I did. Yeah, I did share that. I shared the earnings beats. Okay, good. Thank you all. You guys all had it. All right. For some reason, I just froze on that one. Okay, very good. All right. Again, yeah, there's a survey in the chat. Barb posted there. Some others like here's another one that's been really quite strong. Dow, um, Dow Chemical. You can see higher highs, higher lows, although a pretty swift pullback right here. The trend has been up. A lot of times, folks, traders are just looking for this pullback, right? Just to see any signs of an indication, maybe waiting for a close above the high of the low day. Low day, low day, low day, getting above here as the possible start of some of these moves. that could also follow through here. We did look at some of the consumer staples. Those staples have been really strong as we're just kind of near the end of our discussion here. But just a quick look. Here's Procter and Gamble, CLX off the bottom. So maybe a rotation from it, if we do go down, we could see that sector rotation still continue in these groups. Remember, that was right over here again that I shared earlier, that sector grid. For those of you joining us on the recording, I'll have that listed in the description section down below. Both of those two scripts, okay? But just looking over here, that was that mini flag again, kind of staircasing over here, right at 1,000 on those staples. Another strong area. We showed you guys how to find that too under the scan tab as well. Whoops, there we go. All right, so back over to this. We'll dive into this again, and let's see. So what else do we have? So CLX, MKC was another one that's over here. It's kind of resting right around the 200-day moving average as well, but a little bit of a bounce off the bottom. This happens to be one of just the paper trades in one of the classes, it looks like here. And Mondelez in that group as well. So plenty of flags kind of developing there within that group. And I showed you guys the energy to look at as well. The energy companies. In fact, that should still be up right there. Yeah, these are the energy companies that were perhaps some of them setting up. Fang was in there. We looked at a few of these. We looked at Oxy and others as well. I'll pull up another one here too, just to kind of highlight. So MPC, probably very similar. A lot of these are trading up towards an upper end of the range and holding partially. We kind of dip back below these prior highs, but that's kind of a little bit of a flag. Some of the bounces we're seeing here. So some areas of potential strength for you guys to keep an eye on here as we go to that. Hopefully that was informative for you. I tried to go, market analysis initially. We talked about that. Keeping an eye on these ranges here at a time that's been just extended consolidation here, which that can mean when you're getting that tightness of a range, it could be a blowout up or down. Oftentimes it's with the trend. Keeping a watch on these S&P 500, NDX, focusing in on also that script that we shared in terms of the sector grid. In fact, this is originally from Kevin, I believe. I got it from him. So you guys probably have this already, but just in case, threw that out there to you. And then folks, from this, we did drill down into some specific stocks that had patterns as well. So with that, sure, give us a follow on X. And there is that survey as well. So with that all, it's been great being with you. Thank you, Barb, so much for your help in the chat. Good to see you all, folks. Have a great rest of the day. See you next time.